We are flooded with images every day, and sorting out what is real from what is generated is getting harder. Photorealistic faces, detailed fantasy landscapes, and perfectly lit product concepts scroll past us in seconds. To navigate this, we can use a structured audit to evaluate suspicious images without falsely accusing real artists. This process runs through 4 distinct passes. First, the macro pass. Second, the micro pass. Third, the physics pass. And finally, the context pass. Before we begin, there is one prerequisite: intellectual restraint. You have to avoid rushing to a verdict based on a single glance. Applying a methodical sequence replaces internet panic with precision. You protect human artists while uncovering actual fabricated media. Step 1 is the macro pass. We start by looking at the whole frame, performing a quick squint test to take in the overall impression. AI art frequently carries an overly cinematic finish. The lighting is intense, the colors are sumptuous, and everything feels complete, even when the scene is supposed to be casual. Real human artwork usually contains visual friction. You will find dust, awkward spacing, small personal choices, and uneven brushwork. Image generators typically replace that natural friction with a plastic smoothness. You can see this in the composition. Take a look at this ordinary sandwich. It is sitting on a desk, but it is lit like the opening scene of a blockbuster. Generators rely heavily on centered, epic compositional formulas and apply them to subjects that do not warrant that level of staging. A polished aesthetic does not prove an image is generated, but a complete absence of visual friction is your first signal to stop scrolling and begin a deeper inspection. Step 2 is the micropass. We move from the overall impression down into the fine details and the edges of the subject. Look closely at this Polaroid. The fingers are fused directly into the handle of the sword. Generators produce images through learned patterns, which means complex geometry, like bending joints and overlapping fingers, frequently causes the rendering to break down. Expand your check to secondary anatomical zones. Inspect teeth, ears, and the symmetry of the eyes. You might find glossy eyes that are subtly misaligned, or earrings that differ completely from one side to the other. This street sign shows another failure point: text. Generators do not interpret words as a designer would. They generate marks that merely mimic the appearance of language, which is why letters often morph into abstract shapes when you zoom in. Keep in mind that generators are improving. A perfect hand no longer guarantees a human creator, and human artists are perfectly capable of drawing bad hands. When you do find these microfailures, they expose a machine that is replicating surface patterns without any grasp of the underlying structure. Step 3 is the physics pass. We move our attention away from the main subject and inspect the spatial logic of the background. In a physical scene, shadows respond to the primary light source. Here, light comes from the left, but shadows extend toward it. Generators prioritize atmosphere over structure. In a generated background, you will often find impossible furniture, like this chair merging into a table leg. A practical way to check this is through reverse thinking. Look at the image and ask yourself, could this room physically be built? Could that dress actually be sewn? Because the software does not understand physical relationships, testing the environmental logic is often the hardest thing for a generator to fake. Step 4 is the context pass. We stop looking at the image itself and investigate the account, the captions, and the history of the post. You are looking for process evidence. Thumbnails, layer screenshots, and early pencil drafts provide a clear record of human construction. If you are commissioning an artist, you can verify this by giving them a concept task. Ask them to sketch a specific, unusual detail, like a broken compass worn as a brooch, and then ask for a controlled revision to the character's pose. A human artist can revise an arm without touching the rest of the canvas. In an AI workflow, changing one element usually causes the entire face and costume to randomly mutate. You might be tempted to run the image through detection software instead. Do not rely on them. They frequently misclassify genuine human art and can be tricked by basic image compression or cropping. Context acts as your ultimate filter. A highly polished image can be fabricated in seconds, but a documented human workflow cannot. That brings us to the end of the audit. Before you reach a verdict, apply the convergence rule. A final judgment requires at least 3 independent points of failure to align across these different layers of inspection. If you only spot one awkward hand or a strange shadow, the only responsible conclusion is to preserve your uncertainty. Human artists are allowed to be unconventional. By checking the overall polish, the anatomical details, the physical logic, and the surrounding context, you can distinguish genuine creativity from generated decoration.